as fast as we can, do the project right, but get it done as quickly as we can. It's going to be painful, but we'll try to shorten it as much as possible. Now we say overall project completion in January of 12. Basically, we're talking about both bridges and the design enhancements that would go on after traffic is opened up and so forth. The doctor says acid reflux. I don't buy it. May need to call a reliever. Ruben, are you close? Okay. Sorry. Ruben wants to come up.
Okay, we'll go over.
This is Ruben Guerrero, my second.
Thank you very much. I'm going to try and do as good as Mike was doing so far, and I'll try and stay on top of it. Again, one of our challenges for this project is to work at trying to get in and out of doing the Mulberry project with the least impact to the community as a closure. Of course, Mulberry closure will affect one of the connectors between Highway 21 and the Broadway corridor. So, of course, Millbrace, again, impact. Even though it's minimal to the golf course only, but it's still an impact. Broadway really won't get impacted by both bridges, so there's no concern there. But there will be an impact as more traffic will come down Hildebrand or from south of Broadway. Again, Mike talked about there'll be plenty of signages and information as the project moves along, and there will definitely also be good discussion and information and the media source that Mike mentioned before. So again, we want to emphasize any type of communication, emails, or information that you leave today will make it easier for us to get the word out. Again, unless there's something immediate, we would like to leave the detailed questions to later in the process. Ready, Mike?
I'm ready.
Okay, great. So I don't want to pick your shoulders. Still be right
How
now.
did our reliever do? You okay? My staff's in the back saying, "Man, you'll do anything to get out of a public meeting," so I had to come back. Okay, the next project is the Broadway corridor. We call it Phase 3A. But basically it's the Broadway-Hildebrand intersection. And again, this is again a 2007 bond program project approved by the voters, and to improve the drainage in this area. We've got some traffic and pedestrian enhancements as part of it as well. This picture is taken just back in September with those rains, and those are rains that we get every year here in San Antonio. But this is what happens to Broadway and Hildebrand during that time. So this project's all about safety, safety in getting that drainage that's basically in the streets, underground, and then over to the river. And also making sure that we can get traffic moved and get the pedestrian improvements in this area as well. The yellow line around this area kind of shows the area of the surface drainage when it's raining, where that water is flowing through the area. And of course now We see it crossing the streets, running down Broadway and so forth. So the idea is to pick that up along Broadway at the intersections north of Hildebrand and take it underground with the new storm drain system and then take it down along Hildebrand and outfall to the river. This shows it just a little bit more close up. It's a $11.5 million project. I mentioned the storm drain system. It's basically an underground box culvert system that's going to run at basically two 9-foot by 6-foot boxes, so a double barrel system to handle that 100-year storm. That storm that really has a 1% chance of happening. I like to give our storm experts a hard time that this 100-year storm, I thought that was only supposed to happen once every 100 years, but it seems like it happens about once every 5 years. But Effie says, call it, there's a 1% chance that that storm is going to happen. That's a better way to say it. Thank you. Okay, and so we're going to reconstruct, while we're doing that kind of improvement underground, we're going to reconstruct Broadway through the intersection, a little bit further north and south from the intersection, and then all the way along Hildebrand over to the bridge at the San Antonio River. We are also, let me get the next one here. While we're at it, we're taking care of a lot of the aesthetic issues in this area. You all know that there is a spaghetti mix of overhead power lines at that intersection. That is the hub for everybody out there. And so what we're doing, the city and our partnering agencies, AT&T, University of Concord, Kunz Combs, and others are coming to the table to fund undergrounding all those utilities as part of this project. It's going to be a dramatic cleanup of that area. It's going to really improve the aesthetics. It's a major undertaking because all of that has to be designed and pushed underground, but it's going to really clean up the area, and that's going to be nice. We're also going to put in more of the modern style traffic signals that you see rather than the span wire signals out there. We are going to put in we have some traffic lane and signal improvements. Basically a right turn lane as you're going south on Broadway, turning right onto Hildebrand. There'll be an exclusive right turn lane there. So basically right now you have 7 lanes on Broadway, and we're gonna configure it so that you actually have an 8th lane there to get that exclusive right turn lane and still have the through lanes at the intersection. Then along Hildebrand, if you drive Hildebrand, you know there's only 2 lanes each direction. Both Broadway and Hildebrand carry over 30,000 cars a day. Okay, tremendous volume of vehicles going through those corridors. And on Hildebrand, if you have one left turner in the through lane, they're stopping that through lane. So that's why you see a lot of that traffic congested, backing up over the bridge and so forth. So what we're doing is putting a left turn. We're widening Hildebrand just enough to get that left turn lane in along Hildebrand from Broadway over to the river, so that those left turns don't stop the through traffic anymore. So that's a help for University of Concord, AT&T, as well as the general public traveling. We're going to relocate the existing signal that's there between AT&T and UIW. We're going to move that slightly to a little better location. And there will be dual left turns, a double left turn from Broadway. You're going north on Broadway to turn west onto Hildebrand. What we're also doing at the same time is looking at pedestrian mobility out here. There's definitely some lack of sidewalks. There's some tight areas. South side of Hildebrand right now, there is a sidewalk, but it's very narrow. It's got power poles in it and so forth. So we're putting in a new sidewalk along there. We're putting sidewalk on the north side of Hildebrand from Broadway over to the signal, the signal that's going to be new between AT&T and UIW. And that's where the bus stop is, so that we get some good pedestrian access there, improving the sidewalk conditions all the way around the intersection. We're also doing, there's a lot of pedestrians, a lot of AT&T employees cross Broadway, so we're doing an enhanced pedestrian crossing just south of the intersection of Broadway and Hildebrand. And so there'll be a median refuge area, some overhead flashing beacons to really alert drivers and pedestrians, and some special pavement treatment as well, so that's more of a high-profile pedestrian crossing there. One of the things that we're focusing on with these designs is the details, making sure the details are well done. And what we're doing, as we bring these two box culverts along Hildebrand towards the river, our first thought was we were going to direct them right into the bridge. They're under the street, right in an outfall, and right at the bridge location of the river. That was our first intent, but the hydraulic analysis showed that with the existing bridge, that could not be done. You could not outfall water at that point because the bridge doesn't have the capacity to handle it. You'd have to replace the bridge, which that's cost prohibitive in this project. So basically what we need to do as we approach the bridge at the river, we come off the bridge and we're going to go through a piece of Miraflores Park with a drainage easement. And so we're working with the San Antonio Conservation Society, Brackenridge Park, and our Parks and Recreation folks, and many groups, including the Texas Historic Commission and so forth, to make sure that we do that right. And part of that is providing mitigation to actually leave the park in a better condition than before the project started. And we're used to doing that with our projects, that when we need to touch a historic area, we need to take it and improve it in some way. So we're looking at working with those groups to make sure we do it properly from a historic perspective, but rebuilding the rock wall there as we go through there, and the metal railing, some of that's deteriorating, so we'll be able to rework that. And then we're also considering other elements there to make sure it's done right. So what we'd end up with is a drainage easement. It would be all in the ground. You wouldn't see it from the surface. And then when we outfall, we call it the outfall into the river, that's always a point of concern, is how are you going to properly design that to make it look good and also make sure you don't erode the river and so forth. So you'll be able to talk with others specifically to show you, we brought some of those plans along tonight, that basically we're going to have a combination of materials there between some rock boulders or limestone. We're looking at the different materials and making sure that treatment dissipates the energy of the water before it gets to the river, and then it's well treated. And I was reviewing the designs with our staff, and it's definitely going to be something that looks proper and functions well. And so that's an important part. Anytime you're letting that much water enter the river. When we started the design, we did a field trip and looked at that specific crossing of Miraflores Park and that outfall, and actually had our tree expert out there and so forth, and positioned it to try to minimize the impact to the park and to the river right there. So I think we've got a good plan for that. And you're welcome to talk to us in more detail about that. Okay, just some of the other partners, SAWS, as part of this project. Whenever we do a project as a city, we want to make sure it's done once and it's good for 20, 30 years. We don't want that old stereotype of, okay, the city just finished the project and now they're tearing it up again. So we're working closely on really joint bidding these projects so that SAWS can replace water lines, sewer lines as needed, CPS can replace the gas lines as needed, and they're part of this package. AT&T has been part of the property donation process. University of Incarnate Word has donated property. So we're excited about the partnership that's going on out here. And we also have other telecommunications groups that are part of it as well. This is just kind of a blow-up graphic that shows some of the different improvements from a schematic standpoint. Traffic lane configurations are being tweaked to help traffic get through there. Pedestrian improvements that are going on. Of course, the underground storm drainage system and the underground and the utilities. So, complete package. Right now, we are at what we call 95% design. So, we are basically ready in December to advertise for construction bids. The key here is that we are not going to allow the restrictions to take place out there, traffic restrictions until Mulberry